Hey guys, my name is Abby and I'm from Rise Tribe. Wanted to welcome you to the second digital tribe series featuring Tita Collective. Today we're going to be chatting about our community and comedy. So we have these amazing multidisciplinary artists here today with us. Before we start, before they introduce themselves, I'm just going to let you know a little bit about what Rise Tribe is. Essentially, we are a nonprofit in Canada that wants to reimagine, reshape. Sorry, somebody's laughing. What Filipino Canadians are in Canada. So really, that means opening up opportunities for networking and connecting with other successful, trailblazing Filipino Canadians. And with that in mind, I'm actually going to throw to the Tita Collective, starting off with Ellie.
Hello, my name is Ellie Posadas. I am a multidisciplinary performer. We're introducing like we're doing our whole thing, right?
Yes.
I'm telling. Okay, great. I'm a singer, writer, comedian. I'm 1/6 of the Tita Collective.
Me next. Hi, I'm Maricris Rivera. I'm also multidisciplinary artist. So I'm a singer, dancer. I also work as a stage manager and producer, and do a lot of stuff with the Titas, including acting and comedy, which is pretty great.
It's me. I'm Alia Rasul. I'm an accountant. No, just kidding. No, I don't. I can't do your taxes. I'm Alia Rasul. I'm a theater maker. I'm part of the Tita Collective. I'm also an inclusion director at Bad Dog Theater.
I'm Paula artista. I am also 1/6 of the Tita Collective. I'm a musical theater performer as well as a creator, joker, a comedian, and really that's two different things. And yeah, I love dogs and travel.
Wow.
Walks on the beach.
Something I forgot to mention is actually something that we do with Rise Tribe in any big event that we host. We actually like to ask everybody what their favorite Filipino dish is.
Oh my gosh!
You guys can figure out how to determine what that is. But we'll start off with Ellie again.
Hands down, pork sinigang. If that was my last meal in the entire my last meal of life, I would have sinigang. Hands down. Pork sinigang.
Sino na si Maricris?
Yeah, Maricris.
Okay. Like a dish or dessert or anything?
Anything you want.
Oh boy. Okay. I love me a good pancit canton. A whole lot. One of my comfort foods there.
Nice.
All right.
Mine is my favorite it's a breakfast thing. It's bang silog. Because I want to start my day with a bang.
Wow. Of course.
Oh man. Oh, my favorite dish. It's a dessert. It's the whole because it has a lot of memories for me. Yeah, I love it the whole.
Okay, cool. Okay, now that we have gotten to know you guys, what you're about, and what your favorite Filipino dishes are, we wanted to start with really getting into what and how you were inspired to become or be in comedy or work in the performing arts. And that's for everybody to answer. So we can start off with Maricris.
Sure. So we are all multidisciplinary artists. The 6 of us, and we all have different backgrounds in terms of our strengths. So some of us came from the comedy world, some of us came from musical theater, some from music, and basically we all met working on a show together. And then after that show closed, we just kind of realized that we really love hanging out with each other and getting to vibe up and just being able to constantly be in this group of other Filipino women who are going through the same things, the same struggles in the performing arts industry. And eventually we kind of just decided, why are we waiting for something to come up for us? Why can't we just make it ourselves and see what that looks like?
Cool. Alia?
Oh, I guess why I got started in performing arts specifically. Like, I grew up always doing visual, but I never really imagined I would go into theater or comedy. I actually like did the go to university, do the corporate gig, and I developed a fear of public speaking throughout university. It was like pretty bad, but like as soon as I started work, I realized that it's something I had to get over if I wanted to move forward. So I took improv to do that because they say it's really good to help you build confidence. And I just kept going, and yeah, now I'm here.
That's amazing. That's cool that like you weren't planning on going into the performing arts, but then because of your corporate gig, you kind of found it, and you're obviously very good at it because I laugh every time you speak. Ellie?
I actually started quite young. I started doing musical theater when I was pretty young. In terms of performing, really just like in front of like my family members doing karaoke. But when I was in elementary school, I actually had a teacher. Her name was Beatrice Carpino. And she actually happens to be, I don't know if you guys remember Pasquale. He was like the Italian chef. And he did opera while he sang. But anyways, that was her dad. And so she knew that I took like an interest. And so like one day we did like a talent show together, and we did like a musical theater duet. Okay. And from there, she introduced me into doing musical theater. And I was really lucky with my elementary school teachers because they actually had helped me apply for a program called Leaf Streams, which back in the day, I actually don't know if they still do it, but the Toronto Maple Leafs kind of set up this arts programming or scholarship for marginalized families or kids who are like living within low income families. And so from there, I guess I was 11 or 12, I did musical theater at Randolph. And then I ended up going to college at Randolph. So basically was there my entire life. And so that transformed into other things like TV and film. And now my main focus is film and doing the Tita thing.
Amazing. I've actually heard you sing karaoke, so I can definitely confirm she's a good karaoke singer.
Thank you.
The Total song? Total?
No, or? It was SWV, So Into You.
Yes.
Oh my God.
I'm pretty sure I was wearing this shirt that day too.
Yeah, you were.
Amazing.
Choices.
Go. So AP, what about you? How did what's your story?
Oh man. So I also started pretty young, doing vocal lessons in a studio in Scarborough. So like every Saturday my parents and I would like drive out, and they would have me in like piano and vocal, and like we did like competitions and like festivals and sang in malls and stuff. So I was exposed to the performing bug pretty early, and then it just kind of progressed, and I trained in classical, and then I discovered musical theater in high school, and then yeah, it just kind of like blossomed, and I did a youth program called One Song Glory with a company called Musical Stage Co. And it's a free like youth, pretty similar to what Ellie did, like a free kind of youth theater initiative where they brought in kids that were interested in learning musical theater and exposing them to the industry. And from there, I did Randolph as well. Ellie and I went to school together. Hey. And yeah, it kind of just blossomed from there, graduated, and since then have been performing mainly musical theater all around Canada and some in the States, and then dabbling in sketch for a little bit, and then discovering Tita, and here we are.
Here you are.
Here we are.
Awesome. So it's interesting because you guys, sorry, did you want to say something, Maricris?
Oh no, I just realized, sorry, at the very beginning, I was just like, oh, this is like that's like generally how Tita came together. I wasn't sure if I'm going to say anything about my background personally.
Yeah. Go into it.
Long story short, it's very complicated, but I started out in dance and piano when I was younger because my Ate Rochelle and Ate Stephanie were doing lessons. and I wanted to be like them. And I kept on doing those until high school, where I majored in musical theater at an arts high school in Etobicoke. And then in university, I also kind of like similar to Alia, did like an academic program. But I didn't want to let go of theater, so I discovered stage management on the side. And basically, since university until now, have been trying to figure out different ways that I can still involve myself in theater, because it is one of my biggest loves, whether that's through performing, creating, being behind the scenes. Every part of it I managed to actually do with Titas, and I'm very grateful for that.
That's awesome. Did you guys have something that we always like talk to younger Filipinos about is having that really difficult conversation with their parents of like, hey, I want to go into this stream that isn't necessarily traditional for from like a traditional work setting or work industry, I guess. Did you guys have any issues telling your parents like, hey, I want to be an artista? Or were they like, yeah, do it. Like, I want to see you sing and dance and like, you know, like what was that like?
For me, you know, like looking back at it, I don't think that I had very much of a hard time. But I mean, there were any chance that my parents got, they kind of tried to veer me towards the direction of doing something a little bit more academic. Because as you can imagine, like I come from a huge background of many titas who were nurses, and my Lola was a doctor. And so they really tried to encourage me to go towards that direction of doing something that was going to be, they thought would be more sustainable, like, you know, like so that I could be financially well off, I guess. But I think because I started doing it at such a young age, they kind of knew deep down inside that there wasn't going to be an option other than this. And it was because I was very passionate about it. So when I talk to my parents about it now, it's sort of like, well, we knew that we really couldn't truly see you doing anything else, but it was more of just a concern of how I was going to find work being a person of color. And because it is kind of an unconventional career to go towards, like to be an artist. And, you know, the world, especially back then when I was a kid, like it wasn't, there weren't any platforms for us to thrive in a career like that. So it was more so than just being protective, but you know, it kind of just eased into it. I think it was just like, they just knew that that's what was going to happen. So I'm very grateful that I didn't have that much of a hard time with it.
Yeah. Anybody else have any?
I have like, I started doing a lot of artistic sort of, you know, like those, my mom would send me to arts camp and like, you know, she'd make a huge deal about me painting and things like that. I didn't do much by the way of performing arts. Like the closest thing I ever did was like be in a children's choir. But it was always a part of my life. And I think the expectation was like I would do like, I ended up studying economics and but the expectation was like I would always do an arts thing on the side. So because I guess I really liked how my parents are kind of similar. Like they have, you know, their day jobs, but they were always actively pursuing or like doing something artistic, you know. So I eventually like went into the corporate world, and there was a point where I was like, you know, I had that conversation with my mom where I'm like, I've tried this for 5 years and I want to shift my focus, and I think it's the thing that's going to make me happy. And she was like, well, yeah, I mean, I took a kick at, you know, the traditional thing, and you know, like, and I still want to pursue it. So she was like, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. That's honestly like, I always find that like, especially with Filipino, our parents' generations, they all had this like side hustle of like going ballroom dancing or like singing karaoke at a bar. Like there was always that like connection. Didn't matter like what industry they're in or what job they're in. They all kind of like came together through arts and music, and whether that was your job or not, like it was something that was special. And I feel like really representative and super indicative of like our culture more than others, I find. But yeah, that's cool. That's an interesting site.
I always make a joke about like, well, you forced me to sing karaoke my entire life. What did you expect?
It's true. Like you literally invested thousands in like classes, and you know what I mean? Like, what do you think? Like, you should have sent me to economics camp. You know what I mean? Like,
that's my thing.
My mom used to take me and my sisters to musicals all the time. We're like, Mom, one of your 3 daughters was bound to pursue this, given how much you like surrounded us with it. So hard.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
So I actually wanted to chat about Ellie. You kind of chatted about this really quickly in your last answer, and it was about being a POC in in arts. And one of the questions that we had from one of our audience members or someone that follows Rise is, as you started, were some challenges as a Filipina in the performing arts, and how did you overcome them? Or maybe you didn't and you're still working on it, but any anecdotes or any stories that you can share with our viewers, I think that would be really helpful. So maybe we haven't heard from AP in a while, so AP, holler at your girl.
Wow. Okay. I mean, yeah. Just speaking from my experience with Ellie, actually going through theater school together, her and I were the only Filipinos in our year, and at the given time, and so I found, especially at the end of my last term, I had a really hard time finding material that I could relate to, and that I could connect with and work with, and really feel proud of doing it, and which kind of scared me a lot upon graduating, because it, as Ellie was saying earlier, there wasn't a lot of opportunities or representation for people that looked like us. So there is a lot, for me, a lot of what I tried to do was find similar, like-minded people to talk with and collaborate with. Very early on, I was lucky enough to work in various theaters, but not really feeling like I had a chance to speak up or have a genuine voice in what I wanted to say with things, because there wasn't much out there material wise, and just in roles, I wasn't really feeling very represented. But it's you gotta do what you gotta do, but also you also gotta feel that fire, and creating stuff with Tita has really become that fuel. I remember just when we first started hanging out early on, before Tita days, we would complain and just vent and talk about how it was so frustrating to prove yourself before even getting a chance to prove yourself when you walk into a room, and any room really, but because people underestimate what we can do, but and being stereotyped in those certain boxes, we, as the Tita Collective, try to not bash or poke fun at it. We celebrate it in a comedic way, because those experiences that we have had, and those struggles, trying to find our voice, which we do now have, which is so freaking exciting, got us to where we are today. And that's by finding like-minded people and reaching out. And now we've built this community where we've met groups like you guys, the Rise Tribe, and people from the US, and people that are reaching out because they're so excited to see Philippine art, Philippine voices, just share and be unadulteratedly, unapologetically proud of being us. And it took a long time, and we're still working on it. But yeah, I guess it's just reaching out and finding, and not being afraid to talk.
That was in itself a sermon. I feel like we're done. We don't need to answer any more questions. We're good.
Okay, bless you and bless you.
But
wow.
Yeah.
No, that was that was such a good answer. I feel like when you say one of the last things you said was be unapologetically proud. That's a hard thing for our culture to be sometimes, because I feel like our parents, or I don't even know where it comes from, but there's a bit of a meekness to our community. We're no, I don't want to be in the spotlight. No, I don't want to promote. It's the weird internal collective thing we have. So I'm happy that you guys are not that way at all. You're putting us out, and whether it's
Not
like
at all.
making fun of who we are or whatever, but yeah, actually, that actually brings me up. If anybody has any other responses to that question, I would love to hear more.
What was the question again?
The question was more of the POCs and challenges within the performing arts industry.
Yeah.
That also.
So yeah. I mean, like, I find like I'm pretty lucky. Like, I'm rarely in a position where I'm not the producer or the writer in the things that we do. I think because I came up in comedy, and that's sort of like the expectation, right? Like, if you're a sketch comedian or you do stand-up comedy, you often perform what you write. And there's like a different empowerment to that, because I make it up. And like, I think it's kind of looking at the different roles and the representation that was before us. Like, there isn't a lot, like AP and Ellie said. But I think like it's also a cool thing to be able to say, like, if you don't see anything ahead of you, that means you're at the front line. Mm-hmm. And you're making history, and like the monologues and the jokes and all of that stuff that you create will be looked upon as like, you know what, they paved the path. So it means like it's going to be hard, but you're you know, like, sometimes it can feel lonely, but like, you just look behind and you can see your community come up behind you, and that's when like it's not a challenge. I guess.
Yeah, no, it's you guys definitely have been paving the way. I think like it's been so cool to see your audiences interact with you guys. Like, I'm sitting in the audience. I know you guys are sitting, or you guys are on stage, but to be in the crowd when you guys are performing is it's like really, really thrilling, because everybody's laughing about the same thing that everybody understands. And like, I've cried during your performances mostly because like there was like that connection point that I'm like, everybody here gets that joke, you know, and it like made me happy. Yeah, so thank you.
Thank you.
Speaking of your performances, you guys all have your own personas on stage, different Titas. Do you guys want to talk about them, and maybe like if there's an inspiration? You don't need to put anybody on blast, but like if like what your inspiration was. We'll start with Maricris.
Sure thing. So my Tita persona is Tita Baby. She's the youngest of the group, which I also am. I'm the youngest of the Titas. She is based off of a couple of different people experiences. Part of it is my mom. So, but it's the part of her that like she works at a shipping company, but she is the one like basically running that shit. Like, without her, the company would kind of fall apart, because she knows it inside and out. And that's just the way that she's always been. But because she's like, you know, like a smaller Asian woman, people don't really expect her to be like the boss, but not really. And she would never really show like how frustrated she gets about it. Like, it's happened to her in the work. It's happened to her in like, she leads the church choir, and they're even like with even those like complicated power dynamics, there's a bit of that thing of like not being taken seriously. When I work as a stage manager, like I have come up against people, or like even because I used to have a 9-to-5 and work in administration. Again, small Asian woman who knows how to run the things, or like when you're a stage manager, you're literally the one running the show. The show cannot go on without you. But I felt a lot of frustration because like, I don't like that you're not listening to me, because I know what to do. I know what's best, but you have to just trust me with this big responsibility. And people would just like, oh, you're so cute, or they're like, oh, that's just so cute, or like, that's just Maricris, it's fine. And then when I get mad, they get really, really shocked. We're like, whoa, I didn't know you could get mad. Is a legit thing that people have.
It's really it's like weird when she gets mad. It's like,
it's weird.
I know. It's a lot of the frustration.
Wow, that's beautiful. I love that.
Anyway,
yeah,
sorry.
I think it's
come up to me after the show, or like, oh, I'm Tita Posh, or like, oh, I'm in our bond. How dare you make fun of me, but also you made me laugh. She's so I think like as she's developed, she's become more about heart. Like there's a little bit more heart to her now, because like Tita Posh ultimately like works really hard so she can provide, right? It's not all about like the Prada bags and the Chanel. She may indulge in that for retail therapy, but I think ultimately it's all about like being able to show your love, because that's how you show love when you're far away sometimes, by providing. It's being able to to throw your kids like big parties, lots of presents, like that's part of who we are. And and she's like, sure, I love to make fun of her, because like ultimately I love, my personal thing is I love making fun of like capitalism. So to me she's a satirization of that, but like she's also like all of our titas are love letters. And so Tita Posh is like, all she wants to do is work, 9 to 5, 5 to 9. Buy her Prada, drink her wine. That's Tita
Posh. I love her. AP, what about your tita?
Yeah. So I play Tita Bago. Ellie was saying earlier. So I originated Tita Ginger, but then I left for a contract in the summer during Fringe time. So Ellie came on, and when I came back, we had gotten a spot in Next Stage Theater Festival. So we were given the opportunity to basically reinvent the show, and I got the opportunity to reinvent and create a new tita, because it just didn't feel right. Like Ellie is just like, she is the Tita Ginger. You should taste her. Like, what did you make last?
Anything she makes.
One time when we had brunch.
I'll make it for you
right now.
Yes. Oh, please. The salmon. Okay. So it just didn't feel right to back, and just it was time for a new tita. And my parents have a Filipino store that they've had that I grew up with since I was 11. It's DJ Variety Store. Shout out.
Shout out.
We're not up right now. Just Corona.
Sponsored.
Okay. So anyway, I grew up surrounded by so much Filipino-ness, and so much experience. So many people came through our doors to talk to my mom about their problems. A lot of them trying to get their families, or new immigrants that had just gotten here and were looking for a taste of back home because they were homesick. And I was exposed to that very, very young, and I'm so fortunate to have been. So when you're developing Tita Bago, I was so gravitated towards the story of the new immigrated Philippine experience, because a lot of people come because of as a necessity, out of education. They have good lives back home, but they wanted more out of their lives. So that's kind of the experience that I wanted to play up with, and we kind of developed together. And Tita is a song in the show where she's still really bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. She talks about how like her dreams and her aspirations, and how it's so hard, but she's so positive because she works hard for what she wants. And that's a lot of what the experiences that I've come across growing up and like meeting people. I really wanted to talk about that this time around, and I'm so excited to develop her more as our show progresses.
Really cool. I mean, again, like the show itself embodies and talks about so many like relevant topics that are so important. I know she's not here, but there is an LGBTQ piece of your show that was like really striking. Obviously, climate change. You're talking about all these things that really aren't just specific to Filipinos. They're specific to, I think, everybody. But what is that? Oh, to the power of but no, but I appreciate that like you almost speak about global issues, but like with a Filipino lens, and I think that's why so many people are so enthralled by your collective. So moving right along, one of the things I think that we get a lot as Rise Tribe founders and members is people always ask like for advice. So open call out here. Starting Maricris. Any advice for any young Filipinos who want to enter the performing arts space?
Don't doubt your voice. Don't. If you want to enter the arts industry, you want to enter it for a reason, because you have something you want to share, and it's beautiful. And we need more voices I'm really grateful for the Tita Collective, and especially since starting and learning more about the community, meeting other people like Rise Tribe, like a whole bunch of others. It's wonderful to see more of our voices come up. We need even more. So, yes. If you want to jump in, go all in. Trust that you are doing the right thing for yourself, and also when you're doing this, make sure you have a community of people around you who will support you, because it's really hard being in the, especially being Filipino too. There are going to be so many instances where you're going to feel bottled down, or feel like people don't want to hear what I have to say, or the other people, or other people are going to be put up ahead of me because their voices are more important. All of those insecurities, all of those voices are going to come, but if you surround yourself with people who you really trust, who believe in you and believe in the work that you do, they can be your family, they can be your chosen family. As long as you feel safe and supported, that's going to be your saving grace. Mm-hmm. And please come join us. We need more of us.
We're trying.
We're
Alia?
here. You guys are here if you need support.
Oh, me? Yeah, I think for me, things started to really move forward once I figured out as a performer what I was about and what I wanted to talk about. And what I wanted to talk about was our stories, Philippine diaspora. And once you focus in on that, and then it's easier to sort of develop a voice and start informing your decisions based on making sure that you're as authentic to that story as much as possible. It's actually all of the stories are in you, but being able to focus it I found was the most challenging. But as soon as I was okay, this is what I want to talk about, then it's it gives sort of everyone a reason to work and collaborate with you, because it's easier to collaborate with someone if you know what they're about, right? Mm-hmm. And it's easier to ask for help when people believe in what you are about, so instead of being oh, I want to make a video, a funny video, just any funny video, being oh, I want to make a video that empowers youth, because that's who I'm, that's what I'm about. Then everyone who wants to empower youth is going to help you make this video. But if you're just help me make a funny video, people are well, what's in it for me? Why? Why should I do it, right? Mm. Yeah. So for me, the biggest thing was, as soon as I really started to what the point is, what my artistic mission is, then it got easier to focus on what parts of the craft I need to work on, what mentors I needed to look for, what kind of, because every single medium, film and TV, theater, comedy, they all have a totally different kind of hustle. And as much as you can try to do all of them, it's easier to just focus on the thing that makes sense for what you want to do. Like, so for us, we do live performances as much as, and of course, as much as we want to do film and TV and things like that. But a big aspect of our of what we do is like, well, first of all, like the Tita Collective has a mandate, right? And a big piece of that mandate is to like bridge community. And you were talking about like what it felt like in the audience, and I don't think we intended to do that, but like someone mentioned it. I think it was Lily, Maricris's roommate, after our first run of shows, was like, "Hey, you know what you guys did? You made a community out of your audience," and I think that really rung a bell with us, and we made that part of our mandate. We wanted to make sure that we created experiences that was joyful and create bridges across community. So the thing that I love about live theater and live comedy is that getting a room full of people to like sit and enjoy a thing together. And so for that hour, they're a community, and hopefully after too, because they now have a shared experience. So for me, that's why I know theater is my medium, because since I want to build community, then that would make sense. But yeah, that only happened once I figured out like this is what's important to me as an artist.
Oh, I don't think we can hear you.
Abby, I think you're muted.
Abby, no.
Abby, no.
No.
Wait, I see a mute thing.
I guess I'll go though. Yeah.
Oh,
Should I just?
oh.
Yeah, go, Ellie.
Oh, okay. I guess I'll go. In the meantime, I think because we all mentioned this, and I think Alia and Maricris touched on this as well, but it's so important to reach out to new members. I know that it's really scary, especially because, like you mentioned before, Abby, that there's a sort of... but... No, but it's really important for you to really believe in the things that you're doing. And if it's not coming from a real place, then it's not authentic and it won't resonate with other people. So it's really important that you're doing things that you also like. Like, I think there's certain light bulbs that have happened to me in my life where it's like, I've been trying to do this thing. For instance, writing music time. I was writing music that was going to cater to people, and I didn't even really like the music that I was writing. And as soon as I started writing music that I genuinely wanted to listen to, then it resonated with other people. And I think that's the difference between doing inauthentic work and authentic work, is that it really speaks to people when it comes from a real place. And so bet on yourself, ask for help, and I don't know, eat a lot of food.
Yeah. I just want to jump on that really quickly.
Yes.
Bet on yourself and bet on your community. Like, honestly, everything we got was like on the backs of like family members and friends.
Mm-hmm.
I remember at that what do you call it, Noche Buena, we did like a Christmas fundraiser, right? And it was like sold out show, okay? And then Ernie, the first comedian started to riff with the crowd, and they're like, "Oh, what are you doing here?" It's like, I'm related. And then the next person, "What are you doing here?" "I'm related." We're like, "Ernie, stop it. You're going to out us." It's like, this is just friends and family all the time. And they're the same people who come over and over again. But yeah, like, I think that's for like getting used to like having audiences where it's all white people. Like, we even have a line where like, "Hey, they're clearly not Filipino." But like the first night we ever performed that, I delivered this line for the first time, like, "Hey, they're clearly not Filipino." The audience was 100% Filipino. So it like broke, and everyone was like, and that was like awesome. I think it was kind of like we were so nervous. I remember we were like, no one's gonna come, and then we saw that happen, and it's like we took it was like a trust fall, and like our community caught us.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, bet on your community.
Yeah.
And friends.
Wow.
Oh, are you? I was like, are you guys gonna sing now? Is this happening?
Okay, just kidding.
Okay, hold on.
I've got a backing track. Just kidding.
I'm ready. Hold on.
Oh my gosh.
AP, how about you?
Yeah.
The youth.
The youth. Oh
The
my
youths.
goodness. Wow, when I was your age, I'm kidding. Oh God. Um, don't forget to whoa. Swipe and swipe again. I'm kidding. Um, I, I mean, my sisters have said it. They like. I think the biggest thing for me is to just believe in yourself. And like, it's so scary. Like doing what we do is scary, genuine, and it's our hearts and it's our lives on the line always, and it's our experiences, and it's our mothers, our grandmothers, our sisters' experiences, it's our community's experiences. So it never gets less scary doing what we do. But um, riding that fear and letting that fuel what we do is so is how we do what we do, because that's how we is because we've put so much into it. So as a full in dive, you're like, if you're gonna jump into the pool, submerge your whole body first. So you know what I mean?
Wow, who are you?
Yeah, thank you. I'm all about that.
That was so great.
And
Wow.
and just like make like just keeping fun, because like one of the biggest things about the Tita Collective is our dynamic together. Like even as we were like tacking this thing, like it's always just a riot. It's always fun, and we keep each other up. Belinda, whatever the Titas likes to say, keep the ball up, or like keep it alive. Because once that momentum or once that joy drops, it's hard to pick back up. But if you have people around you that are like minded and have the same kind of, then there's success. So continue supporting each other, supporting the community, doing research. I think for me, I like when I was in school, I tried doing a lot of research on new material, even like after school. There wasn't a lot of it, so that kind of fueled me to be like, need to do more. Now it's changing and evolving, which is super exciting, but just becoming more knowledgeable on our culture, that's a big one too. As a young Filipino, if you feel lost, um, check back to the roots, check back, talk to your elders, talk to your Lola. When I went home, I spent days, a couple days just asking my Lola and about her experience and about her falling in love with my Lolo. You know, like stuff like that really empowers me to want to do this more, because those are the stories that brought me here. So yeah, connecting with the people that we love and the people that we want to bring into our circles is a big thing.
Yeah. That reminds me, like the show is like the performance isn't the work, that's the result. It's the process. Yeah. So it's like how we study our culture and connect with like our elders and take care of each other. That's the work, because that's the hard part. And then the performance is the fun. It's fun.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Get matching tattoos.
Yeah, we have. I'm just kidding.
Oh, you do?
No.
I'm on my arm real quick.
I know, I'll write cover. I know.
Okay, it's coming.
I don't have a pen.
Oh, one more piece of advice, if I could give that.
Yeah,
okay?
bring it.
Self-care.
Yeah.
Yourself. It's hard. Like being in the arts is really hard, and burnout is so real.
Drink water.
Drink water. Get a therapist.
Whatever you can do to take care of yourself, make sure you implement those, because that's going to help you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's like you're preparing for an Ironman. You know, you don't just go do it. You make sure you have all of the support and like the preparation. It will burn yourself out, as you see lots of very like successful artists burn out.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
it's real. The burnout's real.
Don't try a book if you want Iron Man.
I know, that's how I say, like, yeah, I do Iron Man.
You Robert Downey Jr.
Well,
I'm Iron Man.
Wow.
If you want, I can't.
Hey.
I feel
It's
like
called Iron Man, right? What am diba?
Yeah, no,
I
the
don't know,
triathlon
right?
thing you're talking
Yes,
about.
thank
No,
you.
the
Excuse
competition
me.
thing. I know what you're
I
talking
know
about.
sports.
Sports, athleticism.
Transition.
Well, thank you for all the advice. I think it was really helpful. I think if it's okay, as it's kind of like a wrap up, and I wanted to actually just like summarize everything for listeners who maybe didn't get it all. But we'll be sharing some of the stuff on like the description of the YouTube link too, so it'll be there. But from what I took back is one, don't lose your voice. Two, find your artistic mission and be authentic to who you are. Three, hey, reach out to your community members and for their support, because really they're the people who are going to lift you up.
Hey,
Are you ready for this one? This is the one. This is the one I'm always gonna remember. Bet on yourself.
Yes. Bet on yourself.
that was me doing like
Swish.
Don't
bonus.
forget to Zac
Yeah.
Efron.
I got it
Sports.
Sports.
3 points.
Um, tackling your fear and really submerging yourself into that really cold water of just letting it happen and almost like giving into it. And then self-care. That's a big one, I think, for everybody who's listening and anybody that's going to watch eventually. And one more that I forgot is research. And I appreciate that, because I think once you figure out what your artistic mission is and then you do the research, everything kind of becomes holistic, and then you see like a path of how to continue on. I think I feel like even though you're speaking to those who want to be in performing arts, I think these kind of live for literally anybody that wants to get into anything. I can take back so much of what you said and your advice and apply it to like my regular old normal person life that isn't in the performing arts. So thank you very much for that. Had questions from, actually we kind of touched on them already, so I think we're good. Is there anything you want to promote for you guys? I know you have a lovely, beautiful, big billboard energy.
We have a billboard?
Yeah, Young and Dundas Square for Spotify for Chica Chica, but please, if any of you want to plug anything, now is the time.
Sige.
Yeah. Oh, sige. Well, actually, so we just celebrated like 2 years of Tita Collective. And we had always planned to do like a fund range given these times. So anyway, what we're going to do is we are going to put it up next week, but we're also going to be putting up like as this year we wanted to tour Tita Collective, Tita Jokes, but we are working on our new show. So we're going to put up Tita Jokes, the full show. So if you've never seen it, it'll be available online. And if you like it and you have like a spare $100,
100.
you can sure you can. But the show is free. Anyone can watch it. But yeah, if you have anything to give, we have a lot of work. We want to work on our new show. We want to do a tour. We want to make an album. Blah 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 blah. It's all on our website. Check it out. So you can follow us on Instagram at tita.collective. Yeah, I think the show is going to be out on YouTube, but you'll find all the links. We'll send all the links there.
We'll figure it out. Yeah.
You'll figure it out.
Yeah. Technology.
Yeah.
We're doing fine.
Sorry?
No, just like we're fine. We're figuring this out with technology like this.
Yeah, we know technology.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Abby, like you said before, we have a podcast called Chica Chica with the Titas. You can listen to it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, really anywhere that you get your podcasts. And if you're in Toronto and you're doing like a nice, like safe social distance walk for fresh air around the Young Dundas Square, you may see our faces as we are part of Spotify's Need Women campaign. We'll the campaign is up until mid-April, I believe. So
Yeah. So you need a nice place to meditate and see our faces. Young and Dundas.
Oh my God.
I love that. I'm very close to it.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
wow.
We also have our friends, Pantayo,
Yes.
a Filipinx group of musicians. They recently came out with a new single called Heto Na. So if you are looking to have a little bit of a dance party, a solo social distance dance party, that is the tune that you should groove to. And if you happen to watch the video, you might see some familiar faces in the video.
Just some.
Wow.
But check out
See a
their
full
stuff.
body.
They're super, super talented very, very much.
So good. I watched it last night. Really good.
So much fun. Yeah, and follow us usually on Instagram. You know, the social.
I thought I was charging my laptop. Technology. I'm a tita. Oh my God.
Me too.
I love this. Okay, well, thank you guys so much for coming
Rise
on
Tribe.
virtually.
Thank you.
Gosh, no. All love to you guys. And before I go, I just want to say thank you to all the frontline workers who are currently battling COVID-19 for us, from restaurant workers to delivery guys to the nurses to the doctors to everybody. Just want to say thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We really appreciate what you're doing, and we are all staying inside and staying away from each other so that you guys can eventually go home and see your families. And thank you. And we're done. That's it. Tapos na.
Bye.
Whoa.
Wash your hands.
Wash your hands. I have 2 hands. The left
Bye. Bye. So clean.